got shot.
It was life and death.
Somebody's killed your son.
I think both sides have to come together.
When it comes to African-American men, we only get the mug shot.
You know, it's abnormal.
Was it really worth it?
You gotta be the tough guy.
Tim Jackson presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime Direct. This is the No More OGs podcast. From controversial topics to creating financial freedom, we will talk to real people about real situations, providing real solutions. No celebrity endorsements, bringing you unfiltered discussions, dope interviews, and giving you the blueprint to create the culture that you will be proud of. So kick back, turn up the volume, and let's get to it. Here's your host, yours truly, Mr. Purpose on Demand, Mr. Retired at 37, Mr. Tim Jackson. What's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I'm your host, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. What a beautiful day, you guys. We're getting ready to wrap up season 1. So I think I have one, maybe 2 more interviews. Somebody kind of punked me into doing an interview after this one. So I think I have one more interview. I was going to end on this one, but then I got strong-armed a little bit. Y'all will see what I'm talking about. But listen, as always, you guys check out the documentary. You saw the preview before the podcast came on. Tim Jackson presents How to Kill a Black Man on Amazon Prime Direct right now. You guys, I haven't gotten any bad reviews on this. We are looking to create change that we want to see. So y'all be a part of this movement. Also, get the book. Real dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. I don't make any money off this book. As you guys know, 100% of the proceeds go to Real Youth Mentoring. Real Youth Mentoring is doing some amazing things. We've been profiled on the news twice this year already. And we're looking to expand to 10 cities, and we're looking to raise $10 million this year. So be a part of that. Y'all know what it is. You can't keep complaining about something that you're not going to be a part of. So let's get it. We are the change. And what else was I going to say? I got the documentary. I got the book. Oh, Tim Jackson presents 25 Easy Juices. Y'all know I'm down 50 pounds. I'm on my health kick. This is a lifestyle. It's not a fast. So shirtless summer. Y'all know what is going to happen. Shirtless summer all summer long. Y'all going to get on my nerves. I'm going to be pointing at stuff. It's going to be over come this summer. But check this out. Listen, you guys, I have an amazing, amazing guest in the building today, all the way from Chicago, Illinois. I met this person through another person who was on the show, Mr. Byron Sellers. This individual owns a nonprofit, or runs a nonprofit, should I say, similar to what we do at Real Youth Mentoring, that's geared towards, youth and people within the South Side area of Chicago. So I want to introduce to some and present to other Miss Wanakee of Elevate Greatness. What's going on?
Hello.
Fresh off the plane, right? Well, you got in last night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around 4.
Okay.
Like
well,
that.
listen, man, you know what? I'm getting ready to wrap up the season, and, Byron reached out to me. You know how Byron is, man. Hey, what's up, Tim? He always send the voice notes. Byron don't ever send no text message.
I'm hollering. He does.
Byron, literally got me into the voice notes. He's like, hey, what's up, my man, Tim? I hope everything's good, man. How's the family?
I'm screaming.
Yeah, because
he does.
and I listen to it. And I listen to the whole message, too. And it's just so genuine. And the irony of that was that I was literally talking about Byron the day before at a conference. I was speaking at a conference. And I was talking about the importance of building relationships, like why it's so important to build solid relationships with people, because you never know how those relationships will benefit you long term, pay off, and how you can help them. And I kid you not, I hadn't talked to Byron since September, I think after his daughter was born, or right before his daughter was born. And he hit me up that day. So that power manifestation,
energy,
speaking of stuff, that energy. And I went back to the conference the next day, and I was like, what did I talk about yesterday? And they were like, the guy that you did the mobile home elite thing with, event with, because they have an amazing
Crazy
program over there.
brand,
So
yeah.
y'all know I'm trying to get out of saying thing, because now that thing is going to be the biggest thing you see. And so I said, listen to this. And I played the video, and everybody in the room was like, what? I was like, y'all, that's the power of it. Like when you start getting on purpose and you start walking in your purpose,
alignment.
You align with people. So tell us who you are, what you do. I want to hear about your program, because I really believe that in 2024, this is my year of alignment with people. And I've always wanted to tap into the Chicago market, but man, that is a hard market to get into.
You think so? What makes you say?
What makes me say? You really want to know the truth?
Yeah, tell
the truth.
Tell the truth.
So from my experience in Chicago, people are either really solid or really grimy. Like there's no in between. It's either, as my drill sergeant would say, it's either sugar or shit. There's
You were in the military?
Yeah, I was in the military.
Same. Okay, I just got out in September.
What branch?
Army National Guard.
Army National Guard. Okay,
Yeah,
well, you know what?
I did my little bid.
You did your little bid. Hey,
my little
man,
time.
listen, go get your money now. It's that time, you know?
Do you hear me?
Hey, we can talk about that off camera, all right? But no, I was in the Air Force. I actually just started telling my story. I was in the Air Force for 2 years. I actually got wrongfully discharged from the Air Force. And so the Air Force admitted back in 2009, 2010 that they wrongfully discharged black and brown soldiers and airmen, sailors, and Marines at like a 10% or 100. It was like 10% higher rate than non-black. And so, like, I had to go through, like, it was a whole process, man. I was ashamed. My family's military, so I felt all sad and ashamed. Came back, got a good job. But then, like, some told me, like, no, I didn't get done right. Like, I know I was a great airman.
That, yeah.
And so, man, I studied. So you'll understand this. So I studied, like, the UCMJ. And then I collected all of my...
code book.
The code book, the Constitution. And then I collected all of my paperwork. And then I reached out to, like, all my peers and got their paperwork and compared notes. And then I created a case and went before a discharge review board. And as you may know, as a military person, there's only like a 7 to 8%, like 7-8% chance of you beating that board. And I beat the shit out of them. Not trying to. I don't want y'all to come back talking. You know, I don't want, you know how the military can be.
Now everybody gonna be hitting you up like, bro, can you give me what's the game?
Hey, that's gonna be one of the ebooks. 100 ebooks in 100 days. Let's talk about it. And I love the military. When I tell you, when I love the military, I love the military. I enjoy it. I still tell people until this day, if you need structure, if you need discipline, if you need to get away, go to the military. I plan on serving my 20 years.
Did you?
Yeah.
Both of my brothers are in the military. So I have 3 brothers. I'm the only girl. We're all 7 years apart. And my oldest brother, he's actually a command sergeant major.
That's dope.
So he's one of 2 black. He is so modest, so he won't ever.
He won't say it out loud.
Yeah, but one of 2. Well, it's only 2 black command sergeant majors in the state of Illinois. So
Yeah.
he's one of them.
Yeah, trust me, I know about that.
Yeah.
Like I've had the fortune to know a lot of chiefs, and many of my friends are retiring now. I just went back to my first duty station, my only duty station, Anchorage, Alaska, Elmendorf Air Force Base, and my boy just retired, my first roommate. You know, so like I'd never talked about this because I was always ashamed of it. Then like one day I'm like my wife was like, "Why are you ashamed of that?
Okay.
Like you got done dirty," and I didn't get done dirty by the military. I got done dirty by overzealous supervisors in the military because a lot of people don't know. People that join the military come from the hoods like me and you, or they come from the rural America. Y'all can read into that how you want to.
Some of the time, that's the most power they've ever had and seen in their lives, and so they abuse it.
And we are a lot of times we're the first black people they've ever been around. Yeah.
Luckily for me, my brothers were in the military before me, so I kind of didn't have those problems. But unlike you, I never wanted to join the military.
Man.
So my brother, we had options. My dad was like, "Listen, y'all gonna go to college. You're gonna get a job and pay rent
around here,
or you gonna
work or go to school.
Gonna move out." Exactly.
First of the month,
the rent is due. Exactly.
What you got to worry about? You ain't got to worry about catching no dog.
You don't have to worry about the dog catching your ass. Bruh, and
that's what we doing on No More OGs podcast. She finna figure it out real quick.
And it's that. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So they went to the military right after high school. I went to college. I graduated college, and then it was a means to an end for me. So I'm like, oh, they gonna pay my loans. So when I talk to kids, they're gonna pay my loans. And I thought I wanted to go back to school. They're gonna pay for me to go back to school. You know, so it was that. It was more strategic for me.
Did you go in enlisted or officer?
So interestingly, I did go in. I went OCS when I first enlisted. Okay. But then I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't that serious for me. I'm not gonna hold you. Don't. But I'm like, no, it's a means to an end for me.
So you just went enlisted.
So yep.
Since you better than me, I'd have got that bag. No, I'm just kidding.
My brothers was like, why won't you that's just so dumb. I'm like, well, you do it.
It's not dumb. It's just that enlisted people always want to be, officers. That's just kind of what it is. So a lot of the guys, I always tell people, even on the show, like nobody joins the military when things are going great in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe 1% of the people, like maybe their dad was a major or like a high rank guy.
Family thing.
But like no one joins the military when things are going perfectly. People join the military typically as a last resort, and it shouldn't be that way because, other countries, they make military service mandatory, so it's like a really prideful thing. And we used to be a really prideful country. And it just seems like when I talk to my friends who are recruiters, because I still got, connects in the military, they're like, man, it's tough. It's tough getting people to join.
It's hard. I have my thoughts.
Talk about them.
We can talk about them offline.
I can respect that because even like with me, like I'm really careful about how I tell my story because I never want anybody from the hierarchy there, the chain of command thing I'm crapping on. Like, no, I actually advocate for people to join the military. I also know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done specifically with black people coming into the military because a lot of us get phased out or we have situations where we don't feel like we belong or we don't want to be there because of whatever reasons. So yeah. But we don't have to go too deep in there. We don't want them people tapping our phone lines and shit.
Listen.
So you joined the military.
I did.
And then what? So like you came home, then what?
So I got back to work. So I saw it's interesting because I always loved kids and I really thought I wanted to be a teacher initially. And then when I graduated and I started working in the school, I was like, oh, I don't want to teach. I don't like the system. So that's what made me go to the military, because I'm like, I think I want to go back to school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to be stagnant, which probably would have been a better idea to just be still. But then I was in my early
Speak on that.
We'll get into it.
Like, because that's specifically in Black communities, you grown when you're 18.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, 17. I moved out when I was 17. And I look at other communities, they don't think that way. They, when I always talk about how I worked for a Korean company. When I was in corporate, I was a corporate trainer, and their whole way of doing things was completely different than ours. Like, from 18 to 20, you went to the military. From 20 to 24, you went to college. After that, you moved back home and you live with your parents. You saved up the majority of your check. And then you started seeking marriage at between like 27, maybe between 28 to 31, 32. And everyone followed the same system. So now you've gotten married in your 30s, right? Lower 30s, and then you've done it with someone who did the exact same thing. So now y'all are buying a brand new house, paying cash for it. You don't have any debt, you don't have any bills, and then after so long, your parents move in with you. So now you don't have to pay for childcare. Like, it was just a well-oiled machine.
Crazy.
And we 18 and we grown.
Yeah, it's real different. It's real different for us, and you just we're conditioned to just like figure it out, go. So even for me, while I was in college, I was commuting, so driving a couple of hours. And I had my senior year, I probably had like 18 hours because I needed to get straight A's because I did my big one my freshman year. Academic probation after the first year. So I literally
She was at them Kappa parties. You know what I'm saying? She got to that student union. Somebody shimmied up on her and was like, hey, we got a party this weekend, and that's it.
The crazy thing is I wasn't even partying. I just literally was going home every weekend anyway. I just wanted to be home. And so anyway, I almost got kicked out after my first year. And so by my senior year, I had to get straight A's just to graduate with a 3.0.
Oh, wow.
And
I know that life.
When I went to my first class, because initially I just had, my regular 5 classes, 15 hours. And that teacher said she doesn't give out A's. I said, oh, shit. Well, let me go pick up some more classes then, just in case. So I was doing that. And then I was also still working full time in another location that was like 2 hours away. So I was either commuting to school or commuting to work.
Chicago area?
So if I'm in Chicago, I was commuting to either Romeoville or DeKalb. So an hour and then like almost 2 hours.
Oh my
kind
gosh.
of thing. And then I was also coaching at that time too. I was like running like a machine. Basketball. I used to hoop in high school. So,
okay, my wife used to hoop.
Yeah, I used to hoop. So, I was like a machine and was getting praised for it because I was working hard. And that's what, we encourage us to do, to work hard. So when I graduated, and I got straight A's. I got A's in all of those classes.
That's what's up.
My teacher at the end was, and I had never gotten straight A's before in my life. So that was that. But the teacher was like, you are just so amazing. I'm like, sis, so are you, because you said you only give out A's. But anyway, when I graduated from college and I went back to work at my old high school, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But all I knew was to do things. So I was like, okay, in the meantime, while I'm figuring out my next step, I need to be doing something else. I need to be checking another box, right? Yeah. So I enlisted into the military. And that gave me time to think while I was away and still make a little money. Yeah. And when I came back, I went to school for speech pathology. It's so crazy. If you look at my transcripts after undergrad, it's crazy. Like, it's just all types of classes. I just tried everything, right? And realized I didn't want to do that either. So I didn't even go back to school.
That's an interest. I know someone who
did not do it, but I started working for a teen outreach program, which one?
If you don't mind me asking.
Teen pregnancy prevention intervention, TPPI. Okay. Shout out to Tiffany Say. Started working there, and she had contracts with all the schools from CPS, and so we were placed at a lot of different schools. And when I got there, I was like, "Oh, this is the work I want to do. I want to do this kind of work." But what happened was, I think, and she's a nonprofit, so I think the grant wasn't renewed. So we knew that we were all, after a couple of years, we're gonna have to leave. So I interviewed at a school, and the position at the Teen Outreach program wasn't paying a lot, right? So my parents were like, what are you doing? You have a degree. This is stupid, that kind of thing. But I'm like, I really love this work. So, passion
work don't really pay like you wanted to until you create your own passion work.
Exactly. Yeah. But I loved it. And I needed it. It laid the foundation for everything that I do today. Yeah. But when the grant ended, so my mom was like, okay, well, you're going to take this job. So she got me a job. It was a salary position. It was way more than what I was making there. But I was like, I don't want to do this. So I started looking for other ways out. So I'm like, let me just start going back to schools and maybe I'll teach, because at least I cannot, this had nothing to do with kids, you know? So I went to the school. The problem was they offered me the position. It was just significantly less than the job my mom had gotten for me. And I'm like, how do I explain this to them? I can't. So I took the job that she got for me. I was there 1 week and I said, oh no, I can't be here. I can't be here. The people who was working there was like, oh, you're not going to be here long. I'm like, what are you talking about? 1 week. Cause I was at a job where I had to be there. It's first of all, no purpose. I'm supervising adults, not interested, right? But I had to be there at like 5 a.m., but it was a 1 hour commute. And then—
So I mean, you had to get up at 3.
Exactly. And then I had a little puppy at the time. Now my baby is 9, but
what kind of dog is it?
A cane corso.
Oh, that's not no baby.
Yeah, she's a
that
baby.
ain't no damn puppy.
Now my baby is 9,
Yeah.
but I was like, I can't do this. I wasn't getting home until like 7 or 8. And then doing it all over again. And so I saw the cycle and I saw people doing that. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this can't work. And so the second week then the weekend came. Now I'm used to working in schools at this point. The weekend came and I guess they're in like the 4th quarter, whatever. They don't want to pay out overtime. So they have all the salary people come in
work.
to do the jobs that I said, oh, I hid in the bathroom. Look, I'm like, this ain't, first of all, I don't work weekends. And secondly, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing this. Literally don't get paid to do it, you know? So I called the school back and I was like, listen, whatever job you have available, whatever position you have, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
And they were like, well, we have like statistics. Like, would you feel comfortable teaching statistics? I was like, no, not that.
You say, not that.
No, not that.
Anything but that.
Anything but that. They called me back maybe like a couple of days later to a week. So we on the 3rd week. What about algebra 2? I was like, absolutely. Okay. And that's how it started. So I started teaching from there. I left that job and I never turned back. Never turned back to anything outside of schools. So that was the only time I've ever worked, you know. So
are you still in the school now?
Through my nonprofit, yes. So now, like I said, the Teen Outreach program that I was working for then really laid the foundation. So becoming a CPS vendor, running my programs, partnering, you know, through the schools and things like that. So now, yes, but just multiple.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people have this exact same story, right? You know, your story sounds very similar to my wife. She didn't go to the military, but she worked in education. And she always knew she wanted to work with kids. And she always knew, you know, she was athletic, so she played sports, played basketball, ended up coaching basketball once she started teaching. And, you know, it was just one of those things where she started to move up the ladder a little bit, but she found herself not really feeling like she was living her purpose. And so she ended up getting you know, she was working through there was a nonprofit that would come to her school, and they loved her. When I'm talking about they loved my wife, they loved my wife because she would oversee the nonprofits, I believe, that worked in her school. And they ended up hiring her. They were like, listen, we need you over here. Like what you do with your skill set would just benefit us. So now she's there. But I've never seen her like so purposeful. Like, you know, a lot of people don't realize like it's not all about money. Like fortunately for me, I was in a position to retire like financially at 37 based on some of the things we did financially. But like I'd rather sit around and not do anything than to be somewhere where I'm not on purpose.
And that was me. And so it looks crazy to people because it's like, you're so smart. Why are you not doing this? Or you could be doing this. And I'm like, listen, it doesn't feel like anything.
Well, people tend to live vicariously through you, specifically when it comes to things that they're unwilling to do, right? So it's like, oh, you should be. I saw someone yesterday says a lot of people in your circle were like, oh, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. They've never done it. So they're just trying to project on you what they think is the right thing. And like you may or may not know, I know I do, once you get into situations, it ain't what it is. Because I was that guy. And maybe it's because of who I am, where I'm from, you know, my astrological sign. I don't know. But I can't be somewhere and not be productive. Like, I'm going to open my mouth. I'm going to speak. And if something don't make sense, I'm going to say, hey, this ain't right. Like,
I'm going to ask questions.
I'm going to ask a lot of questions. That's why it didn't work out for me in the military. I used to ask too many questions.
Listen, I'm asking a lot of questions. When I was a teacher, I'm asking, we're doing what? Why?
Yeah.
Make this make sense. You know what I mean?
They had this saying in the military, the squeaky wheel gets replaced. And they used to always tell me, Jackson, the squeaky wheel gets replaced. I'm like, I'm just asking questions, man. I'm just trying to figure it out. My supervisor said, we got to get this fool up out of here. He asked too many questions.
They want robots.
You know what? Many of them were, you know, military and civilian world ain't really that much different. It's just,
not at all.
There's just a hierarchy, a more structure, more hierarchy when it comes to who do you respond to, who do you answer to. But, you know, it's not really that much different. It's going to all be political. It's going to all be some BS. So that's why I tell people, like, it's about the same. I think the military world has its it has better benefits after the fact. You know what I'm saying? When you get out.
If you know it, because sometimes they
Let's talk about that, because a lot of people don't know.
What you know.
So I told my story. I was on a podcast the other day, and this guy came in the comments like, man, like everything you're saying is so true. Like I think this guy said he was in his 50s. He said he just learned that he was entitled to like certain entitlements. And a friend of mine, like when I was in corporate, a friend of mine was telling me about some things. She's like, Tim, you know, you can go back to school for free. You know, you can do this, you can do that. And I had no clue, that I could do all this stuff. They're not going to tell you.
You do your due diligence.
Yeah. And so when I got fired from my last job, because I was always getting fired, I was that person that would go in there. They would always hire me to change stuff, and then I would be trying to change too much, and they would get rid of me.
They be like, look, change enough, but don't go. Don't
I was
crazy.
always a great worker, but it was just like I would always piss
crazy.
off the wrong people because, you know, I was the antagonizer. And so I'll never forget, I got fired from a job. And the unemployment office was like literally right across the street. And my friend who worked at the job with me, who's my friend until this day, she was like, it was like months before, she was like, Tim, you really need to start getting your military education benefits. Like they pay for your mortgage if you go back to school. Like she gave me this book to read. And so I read it, and I kind of BS'd on it. And when they let me go, man, I went right across the street. And then I went to the VA and like went to school. Like I was enrolled in school like the next day, man. And they were paying for my mortgage, you know what I'm saying? Yep. So I was like, oh, this is how this works. So I started peeling back more of the layers and realized that all you had to do was 6 months in the military, and you're entitled to that stuff.
Yeah, you got to do your homework.
You got to do your
They're
homework.
not going to tell you.
At all. They tell each other.
Once they pissed off enough, close to retirement or something, you know.
Yeah, they tell each other, but they don't be telling us.
They won't tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
Luckily for me, again, my brothers.
Your brothers were there. You knew somebody that knew the game.
Mm-hmm.
And see, like my family, like I said, I have my dad, my grandfather were both military. I got a cousin that was a colonel in the military, a few uncles that joined, but like they didn't really make, outside of the cousin that's a colonel, because she done kind of finessed the system. Like when I tell you, she got like 4 or 5 degrees. She done taught ROTC.
Period.
She's getting so much bread off of it, but she never really taught me how to do that stuff, you know. So it's always, you know, sometimes you got gatekeepers and sometimes you don't. But yeah, man. So let's transition, because I want to talk about why it was so important for you to start your nonprofit. Because, you know, I know for me, I think it was during it was after George Floyd. Who was the kid that got Mike Brown? It was the Mike Brown situation. And I was sitting at home and I was just like, man, something's got to give. Like, not George Floyd, it was Trayvon Martin, then it was Mike Brown. So it was in between two of those, and I was like, man, something's got to give. Like, our boys are just lost. They don't have anyone teaching them how to be men. You know, the whole platform here is no more OGs, because I don't feel like there's any OGs. When I was growing up, the older dudes in the hood would pull you to the side and give you game. If they saw that you had potential, they wouldn't let you get in the streets.
That's facts.
There was a code, you know, women and children were off limits. Like, it was just so many rules to the game.
There was structure.
There was a lot of structure. And then, like, now it's like these old niggas want to be young niggas. Like, and I'll say it's very, very, you know, straightforward. Like, these old niggas, my age and older, they want to be 20. And then these 20-year-old guys don't even respect them. So it's like just a conflict of interest, like, you know, when it comes to like mixing. So I told myself, like, I'm tired of complaining. I'm tired of being upset. I'm just going to create it. And I started the nonprofit in my living room. Like, you know, literally the first meeting was my son, my homegirl I was telling you about that gave me the military book, her son, another kid I used to mentor through another program.
I love that.
And my nephew.
Nice.
And then it grew from there. But I knew like they needed it, and they needed specifically financial training. Like, everybody was like, when I looked around at the mentoring programs, they were all like teaching boys how to tie ties and shit, and just a bunch of symbolic stuff. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything like that was going to really be tangible that they could take away and go back to their community and build with. So I was like, that's what my specific program is going to be about. So like with yours, like, I know you said you volunteered with a teen pregnancy and stuff. Like, what did you see that made you say, Wanakee,
this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
So I really do wish that my stuff was like as profound and like, oh my God, I want to change the world kind of thing as yours. But that was not the case. I was listening to you. I'm like, wow, how am I going to follow this up? But
she's like, yeah, so basically, you know, I saw that grant money.
Man, listen. No, so I was still teaching at the time at the school that I told you about. And this is 2018. And at that time, I started learning more about like real estate, entrepreneurship, all these other things. Well, I was already privy to entrepreneurship, but learning more about real estate specifically and just money in general. And at that time, I want to say 28. And I felt like, wow, I'm teaching math. Why am I not teaching kids about money and taxes and all of these things? And we're in the hood and our kids need to know these things. And so I had a mid-year check-in with the principal at the time. And we were having a conversation. I'm like, we need to be talking more financial literacy. Like, we need to be doing these things. I'm teaching math. Why am I not incorporating these kinds of things? You know what I mean? As I'm learning, I should be teaching these, figuring it out. And also at the time I was still in the military. And to your point, I'm like, I'm in the military. You know, our kids, we got to hear our kids, right? We don't listen to them. So when they say they don't want to go to college,
why?
We say, if you want to be successful, because that's what I was told. If you want to be successful, that's what you have to do.
Bro, I got 3 degrees that I have never made a single penny off of. Like, and I've tried. I haven't made a single penny.
Tried.
I've tried. For the record, I literally tried. I applied for jobs. The military paid for them. So I know whenever, when you think of law enforcement, the rules are always enforced with us. So trust me, I applied for jobs. I tried to use my degrees. I could not use my, like, they would not. It was so much gatekeeping.
But so I'm telling him, and the kids know what they know. Like, they know what they want. They're ahead of it. Well, I always say that this generation, though it may seem like they're a little chaotic, and I think it's just lack of structure, but they are geniuses. And
weaker
they are
and wiser. That's what my mom always says, weaker and wiser.
Listen, they are way ahead of us. This is why they can't really rock with their teachers the same way, because it's like, you trying to teach me something that I know is crazy, and you trying to make me believe it today.
What's the old saying? Those that know do, those that don't teach. And I used to get really offended by that, but it's like, not all, but many of teachers who, and my wife's in education. My background is education. I was a corporate trainer and I taught as well. It's just like a lot of times when you get into those environments and you try to say, hey, y'all don't see this, many of them are like, we don't want to talk about that because they don't see it.
Because they
don't want to change it. And it's not anything bad. Y'all know we do accountability over here, but some people get really, really comfortable in positions, and a teaching job is a very comfortable job.
And we can get into all of that. That's good, because we do have programming for teachers as well. So the kids, when they say I don't want to go to college, I'm telling him, I'm like, and I'm in the hood. I live in this community. They don't go to college. And when they don't go to college, they just all around, just figuring it out, because we didn't give them any other choices, options. So we dropped the ball for real. So we should be actually introducing the military, because if that's something that they want, then they should at least know that that's an option. And also trades.
The military is the largest trade school in the world. In the nation. Like, it's literally the largest trade school in the nation, and they pay you to go to school, and then they give you a job. Like, again, y'all, I promise y'all, this ain't like, somebody gonna be like, look at them, man, they promote the military. No, it's just a fact. It's the largest trade training, program in the world. So why not? And
it's not that I'm specifically like promoting the military. It's just option.
It's an option.
Because my choice I can't make my choice be your choice.
Man.
So let me just give you all these options. So we should be introducing trades, because if they want to be an electrician, do they need to go to a 4-year university?
No.
You get what I'm saying?
No.
And then the other entrepreneurship, we should be having these conversations with our kids. I'm not saying that everybody should be an entrepreneur or is going to be an entrepreneur. It's hard. It's very hard work, and it's not going to be for everybody. But they should know that is an option for them. You know what I mean?
No, I actually do. And because, and I always get upset with the guys online who like shit on jobs. Like, they get into entrepreneurship, and then all of a sudden now it's like, oh, if you got a job, you stupid. And it's like,
I was that girl before.
I did it too.
I had to grow up.
I grew up. And I
think you really get into entrepreneurship and realize, oh, this ain't for the faint of heart.
So let me tell you how
and that's how I started to change my mind. Like, oh no.
Let me tell you how I got hit. So I was at a very small period of my life. I used to be like, oh, this job, this job, yeah.
Same.
And then one of my people that worked for me was like, I gotta ask you a question. Like, what's up? So do you feel like the people that have jobs are stupid and to be entrepreneurs? Well, if that's the way you feel, like, how do you feel about me? I was like, knife in the heart. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great question.
And from that day on, I never said that again. And I understood, like, even with myself, I made most of my money in entrepreneurship through the job. Like, the reason I was able to leave the jobs is because my friends at work were my clients. So you gotta, we gotta stop being all in or all out. Like, you can transition very, very easily.
And I wish I would have known that then, because again, I did not apply that logic. Then I just didn't know what I know now, So we had the conversation. He disagreed. He felt like my mission and at that time, the mission of the school is a college prep school. So I was already pushing against. And so he like,
you at a college prep school talking about, hey, we need to do
But I'm looking at the kids and I'm like, what are we doing?
Their
like,
moms, their parents made them go.
But it's like, come on now, but they want different. They're asking for it and we're not giving it to them, you know? Yeah. So he was like, this ain't for you. Your mission is not aligned to the mission of this school. Yeah. So at the end of this is in January. At the end of this year,
we gonna non-renew. You like me, you done got fired from every, you be getting let go, don't you?
Here's the thing. So I'm like, he's like, but don't say anything to the kids yet, you know, until after testing, all those things. So I have my mentees, I got all these kids all through for the rest of the year. Like, you better not leave us like the other teachers. And it's killing me because I know I'm going to leave. But meanwhile, through the whole year, the teacher's like, just go apologize. Just tell them, you know, that or this or that it was a misunderstanding. It's all of these things. And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Because if we can't agree to give our kids options, I'm not going to do this work when I know that we are dropping the ball. Like, I won't be a part of this.
So you and I are like in that sense, right? You know, I tend to fall on my ex, right? And so in the process of falling on my ex, though, and I can't speak for you, but for me, I realized that you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. Like, sometimes you got to learn how to finesse situations to where people can feel like they're getting what they're getting, and then you get what you get, and then in the end, you're the one that controls how you break away from it.
Now, see, I learned that later down the line, right? Yeah. But I had people at that time too telling me you got to just play the game, because I'm very outspoken as well. So I'm the one that's going in the meeting.
Our birthdays are like
3
days apart, 4 days apart. So like we were on the phone, I was talking to her. I'm like, damn, something really familiar about you, man. We got to talk. I said, oh, that's what it is, man.
I'm the one in the meeting that's going to speak up, and then afterwards, everybody texting like, thank you so much for saying that. Now I'm annoyed, like I didn't say that for you. Maybe you should have said it out loud so I don't look crazy.
I'm teaching my wife, don't be that person.
Don't do
that's
that.
The person that get axed in a meeting.
It's hard, but you got it. But you have to be that person. I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't pay off right away, and it's hard right away. And I was told then, like, listen, if you're outspoken, you got a big personality by another strong-minded woman, black woman, and I appreciated this, and I understand it now. She's like, so you can continue to be that way, but just know that when people ask you your opinion, they don't always want to hear your opinion. But if you want to say it, just know that you're going to put a target on your back, and if you can handle that,
you know what I do now?
Then go for it.
When people ask me my opinion, I don't agree with it, or they start talking, I say, you know what? That's definitely something to consider. That's my.
Look, here I go, man, that's crazy.
I be like, oh, you know what, man? I ain't never thought about it like that. If you ever hear me say that's something to consider,
that's because you don't want to hear what I got to say.
I've never thought about it like that. That means, man, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yeah. Because my thing is, you know, people have this look in their eyes. You can just, I've learned how to just figure it out, like that. You know, that look in their eyes where you can just tell they gone. They're not there. They'll never get it. There's nothing you can say to change their perspective because they operate in fear. They operate from a standpoint of scarcity
or ego,
or you know, they've never seen it done, and a lot of times.
And that was that too. Yeah. It was that too, because it wasn't. This is before COVID. This is before financial literacy is hitting the thing. So I really
this before all them scammers was online talking about quit your job, and y'all know who y'all are. Some of y'all done went back to work, and now you quiet as hell. And I know who you are. I'll be watching. You was telling everybody quit their job, and now you back at work and you being quiet. So when I see you in person, I'm gonna call. I'm gonna get you. Don't talk about me online because you know I got a real strong pull up game.
I'm hollering.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, cool. So I'm going the whole school year now, still not having a plan. I don't know what I was thinking, but just going through. I was feeding my mind, so a lot of personal development, a lot of motivational things, because I knew whatever I was going into, I'm like, okay, I need to be mentally, I need to be strong. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I will say this, because for a lot of years, I was upset with the principal, because I'm like, how could you take me away from my kids?
Well, how long were you there?
I had been there. I've been teaching there 3 years.
Yeah.
But I was upset because it just felt like, how are you not seeing this, you know? But I will tell you this.
He saw it.
But here's the thing. I will tell you this, and I just got this maybe the top of this year. So this year I was working out one day, and I was like, he had to do that though. His intentions could have been what they were, but God needed to use him to do that. I needed to hear it in that tone. It was him pushing back that actually made me pop out like, no, I'm puffing my chest up too. It's what made me leave. I knew it was time to go.
Come on now.
But I was afraid too, you know, and I didn't know.
You wouldn't have never left that situation had he not pushed you.
I needed that tone. Yeah. I needed that tone. So he really was used to do it, and I resented him a long time for it. This is my first time ever saying this, because it just came to me this year.
I was supposed to say, this is the show of healing. So many people that came on this show and healed. I'm telling y'all, your boy's something like a psychologist. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, I came with this epiphany.
Okay, so talk about that because I just recently went back to Alaska. I got kicked out the military. I hadn't been back there in over 20 years, and I went back on my Martin. When Martin went back to his high school reunion, he was, hey, I went back with that mentality. And as soon as I got off the plane, it was like a spirit came over me, like, Tim, let that shit go. Like, you have succeeded 100 times more than they thought you would. You're back in the place they told you would never come. You're finna be on base. Like, let it go. And it was like one of those things. Like my boy, and I've said it for the last 3 episodes. I know he's gonna be probably watching it. He told me, he was like, Tim, like, that wasn't for you. Like, you served your purpose in the military. You met everyone you needed to meet. And I met some of the most amazing people. I just saw a person that I was in the military with. I hadn't seen them in 21 years. They're in Dallas, and we just met up yesterday. Like, I met some of the most amazing people. Like, my purpose was served, and I was so angry, though. I was just so mad, like, how they did me. Then I was like, wait a minute, Tim. Had that not happened, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't literally be sitting here right now.
And I would have never left. Not that year, at least.
Yeah.
But I needed to leave that year.
But I want to get back to this epiphany and this whole healing thing, because that's what we talk about here. So talk about it.
Yeah, no,
action.
I needed the tone. I needed that tone because it disrupted my spirit. And it made me uncomfortable. And it made me feel like, oh, I need to move. And in moving into, but I don't always encourage people to just jump and not have a plan.
You had a safety net.
But
would you say that?
For me, listen, I'm a hustler, so I started bartending. I started doing all the things. Like, I started figuring out other ways to make money once I left the school. You know what I mean? I started flipping mobile homes with Byron and Shanice. You know what I mean? Like, whatever I needed to do. But I would say, though, while I was, like, mentally feeding myself, I came across this thing with Lisa Nichols, and she was saying how you should, and I'm still at work, but I know that, I got like a month left, whatever. You should use your job think of your job as your investor. Right. But listen, this is me on my way out of my job. So I'm like, damn, I probably should have
went in there and played a little game a little bit longer.
Listen, I think I probably should have played the game because what she was saying was making sense. But my future, it had already been sealed because I wasn't going back to apologize. I wasn't going because again, the tone, like my ego was so big. It's like, I'm not going back. My decision is made. So I'm finna get in these streets. I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna figure this out. So that's what I did.
That's that cancer shit. I don't know one cancer who ain't sorry, who ain't no hustle. I'm talking about from my homegirl that was an attorney in my office for 5 years, man, to my partner that helped me start the mentoring program y'all can feel how y'all want to feel about cancers, okay? I know a cancer probably broke your heart or wouldn't talk to you, okay? That's why y'all don't like us so much. Y'all call us emotional. But when y'all need somebody to pull up, y'all always call us.
Listen,
we some hustlers, man. Ain't no cancer gonna be denied.
I'm gonna get it done. But to your point, because you did mention safety net, and I would be remiss if I did not shout my parents out because I was definitely sleeping on my daddy's couch. You get what I'm saying now? And everybody was calling me crazy because what are you doing?
Well, people are gonna always call you crazy. So I hold your thought because I want to talk about two things. When I had my epiphany, very similar epiphany. It was financial. Like I was selling real estate. I looked the part. I mean, this was during the time, around time when All-Star and, a Super Bowl came to Dallas. Like, man, I can't tell you how much money I blew, those weekends, right? Just living my life. Like, if I could get the money that I spent back between 2009 and 2012, like, I'd be a billionaire, right? But I'll never forget I had an epiphany where it was like, Tim, like, you really need to downsize your life. So I rented out my house. I put it on Section 8. That's when I found out that there's Section 8 programs for people like who can live in like gated communities and stuff. Then I sold my car, my Lexus, and bought a cash car. Like, I literally just started reducing my life.
Listen, I paid my car off. And my brother was like, when you gonna get another car? This raggedy. I was like, it works. And I don't have a car note. I'm keeping this car. Like
on the real. And so I was able to find money that I already had that I was just spending based on my habits. And then I was able to put that into my business. And, it sounds like you had a similar type of epiphany where you realize, okay, if I do these things, I'll be fine. I just have to be consistent, right? Talk about that.
You just have to be consistent. And that was that. And so here's the thing. Elevate Greatness still wasn't a thought of mine. I didn't know what I was going to do next. Right?
Tell me how you started.
I'm going to tell you because it was a journey and it was a healing journey first that I had to go on. But I'll fast forward to how it started. Then we can get to the healing.
Because we're going to hear, because I got some time. I don't know what you got to do. I just got to go to a book breakfast this morning. Well, I don't know if I got that much memory over here, but we don't worry about that.
We'll figure it out.
We got some time.
We'll figure it out.
You in the car. You ain't picking up no Uber, so you good.
But so we'll fast forward to, I want to say 2019, I'm on Instagram, and my now business partner, he was looking for like a social media assistant, something at a school he was working. I'm like, yes, this is my opportunity to get back into schools, and I can do social media, and it's part-time, it's flexible, so I can do that and then figure out, other things. Because then you realize when people tell you to quit your job, you need money, right?
You definitely need
and
money.
You need steady money coming in.
And black people, we got this thing where we don't want to feel like we broke, but we be broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't broke. I ain't finna ask or beg nobody for some money, man. If you don't go out there, what old boy said on Friday, you better go out there and make that money.
Listen, so I started doing that at the schools. And so what happened was, this was an alternative school. So these were students from, I want to say, 15 to like 21. So kids who maybe dropped out, got kicked out, whatever. And so this is the second chance school. Yeah. A lot of those students didn't want to go to college. So we would just sit in the office a lot of the times brainstorming just different ways. So we always had different programs coming through the school. But then I was like, well, we need to do like a panel, like a kids talking about they want to do real estate. So let's create like a real estate panel. So I hit up Byron because he was doing mobile homes at the time. I had my friend, she was a real estate attorney. I had another homie of mine, he flips real estate. So we just got this panel of young black entrepreneurs or black and brown people in real estate together. And for the kids who specifically expressed interest in that, we had them come. And that was our very first, what we call now Elevated Conversations. But at the time, it was just called Business Wednesdays. So it was a hit. Like, the kids loved it. The kids really, because you looking at people who look just like this, give you game and you just get access. So we sitting in the
Byron is the perfect person to go talk at that, because Byron always, he love
that.
Byron, he loves it, but he looks the part. Like, Byron's a well put together guy. He's always super clean, always got on the nice shoes. Like, Byron's one of those guys, him and my other, some people that like got me to start wearing like certain shoes and stuff, because I'm working with kids, and I would go into these places and I'd have on a suit and a tie. And then I start getting around more my younger audience. Are like, Mr. Tim, you should wear like Jordan. You should do that. And then ironically, I saw Byron in Houston. He had on these Jordans. And I was like, those are clean. I'm going to have to go cop those. So, like, that's the perfect person to get in front of a kid, because they can see his image. He looks like them. He reminds them of someone familiar, but he's also successful.
And those are the people we bring around him. So he asked me what he should wear. He hit me up like, shit. I'm like, no, not him. It was another guy asked me what he should wear. And I'm like, no, just do you. As soon as he walked in the building. Because they're intimidated. But here's the thing. As soon as he walked in the building, the kids like, dang, how you get them? And now you building relationship.
And it's
before you
simple,
even know
man.
it's that
it's
simple.
Simple, man. Yeah.
Before you even open your mouth, you're establishing some type of credibility with this kid. So now they want to hear more. So after the panel, I mean, it was just a thing. We was like, we need to do this again. So then we were like, okay, we're gonna do it the first Wednesday of every month. And so the next Wednesday, the next month, it was restaurant, and we had kids interested in like being chefs and things like that. So we got our friends from just reaching into our network. And again, young black entrepreneurs, you know what I'm saying? And it just went from there. And so then we was just sitting in the office like, we need to make this a business. Like, that's literally how it went, because the kids started responding to it. And then COVID hit. And so then so that stopped everything, because school shut down now. So all of our elevated conversations now gone. But then we just started doing it online. So doing lives every week. But we got to reach out to more entrepreneurs then, because now they all over the world. Our friends all over, and they wanted to be a part of it and give game. And so when we organized, that was the goal. The goal was just to get the kids in front of black and brown people who look like them, who dress like them, who speak like them, and who understand them, and who are doing things that they are interested in and are successful at it.
Man.
But then here's what happened. And this is how the tree started to grow its branches. So that was the first branch, Elevated Conversations. Our kids started getting intern opportunities and jobs, but they started fumbling them.
Yeah.
And so then we had to go back to the drawing board. And this is where in entrepreneurship, sometimes we can have our minds made up on what it is that we want to do, but our job is to solve problems. So there's a problem.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So we're sitting there and I'm like, we got to get into the mind, like the mental part of it. Our kids are dealing with so much. So they're fumbling, not because they want to fumble, but they don't know how to juggle.
They're doing what they know. And what you got to understand is that if that's all they know, that's how they're going to respond. It's kind of like They're just doing what they know. I don't want to go too deep into that.
They're just doing what they knew, and that's the answer.
Yeah.
So it was like, we need to
like
now.
We would teach kids like different principles of money, right? Mm-hmm. And these are kids that lived in the projects across the street from the recreation center. And they would go home excited, like, oh my gosh, Mr. Tim, Mr. Allen, Mr. Lou taught me this today. And they would go home and just show like everything we taught them to their mom, and their mom be like, that shit don't work. That's they bullshitting y'all. And so the kids are like, they're conflicted. Because they have these men that are pouring into them, that are teaching them how to be better versions of themselves. And then they have a parent who was never taught this. And so it's like, we are literally having to fight the parents. So now we're actually literally creating curriculum right now specifically for the parents, that aligns with what we're doing, so that the parents can watch our short videos and they can be on board. And then it makes sense and they learn together. But when I tell you, one of the biggest uphill battles was convincing some of the parents that what we was doing like was actually conducive to being successful. Like, it was hard.
And here's the thing, you're not even just battling the parents, you battling some teachers because they don't know about it, so it's hard too. And these are people in front of the kids every day. You're battling the community.
You know how people would look at me when I would walk into a place and I'm like, yeah, I'm retired at 37. Like, you would think I would get hand claps. They would look at me like, man, who this mother
exactly.
think he
and who
is?
do you think you are?
Yeah.
It's ego. So because you think about it, I'm a teacher, I'm supposed to know all these things, except you only know the content that you studied, and then you have all these degrees that just double down on what you studied.
Man,
so you don't. There are a lot of things that you don't know, but we get so caught up in titles, and that's why I say when I left the school, like the very first thing that happened to me outside of being broke and having to hustle was that every title that was associated with me, because that was also the year I got out of the military. I ended up re-enlisting a couple of years later, but so every other title that was associated with me, I no longer carried, and then I needed to figure out who I was at that point. And I was 29 at that point, so I was looking at 30, and here I am, and I don't even know who I am because everything that I knew before that was attached to something else. And so that process, that's why I said it had to happen that way for me, because the very first part before I can even get to Elevate Greatness was I needed to know who this version of me was, and that was hard, and it took a long time and a lot of isolation, because then that meant that I needed to shut out all the noise, because then I had people around me like my father, like my brothers, and family, because they all feel entitled to your life, and because that's just what it is, telling me you should do this, and why are you doing this, and oh my God, you're this.
You don't know better.
This is crazy. You losing your mind. So I needed to shut out all of the noise, and I needed to know me for me. And that was the very first step for me. And that was hard. And most people don't do it because it's not cute. That's self-love, right?
Yeah.
But it's not doing your nails. It's not going out. It's not it's really being in the house, legitimately in meditation or whatever it looks like for you, journaling, whatever, figuring out who you are. And I needed to do that first. You know what I mean?
That's dope. No, it's you know what, man, that is a very familiar story to success and getting out there by yourself and doing what you need to do. It's a lonely journey too. You have to go at it alone. One thing that I struggled with over my lifetime was always feeling the need to bring people with me, or because I don't know if it's like, y'all don't see this, you know what I'm saying? Same,
because you're excited. Like, come on, and if we all just do it together, we can get there faster,
Yeah. And it's like, that's when I came up, with the concept, like, the idea is the validation. Like, once you get that idea, that's all the validation you need. Like, that idea wasn't given to them, it was given to you. So you got to go out there and execute that idea. And what happens is, in the process of executing that idea, you're going to attract the people that need to, get to that idea. I always tell people there's literally somebody, whether you're religious or you're spiritual, whatever you subscribe to, there's literally someone at home praying, meditating, speaking you up, asking their creator, please send me an answer. Please send me somebody that can help me. And you're that person, but you're so afraid to get out there and do what you need to do that both of y'all are suffering.
Yeah, the thing is, I heard this on Instagram and it just like hit me. I was
because you be posting quotes. If you go and watch your story, right? You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna take you on a journey. It's gonna be an emotional.
I went down a rabbit hole in your story one day. I was like, because you'll post like something funny, like, and I do that in my story too. Like, I'll post something funny, then I'll post something meaningful, then I'll post something about juicy.
And I don't even do it on purpose.
And you don't do it on purpose, but like one day I was like, man, that's so prophetic, because you be posting those quotes, and I'm just like, I never thought of it that way.
Listen, I was on Instagram. I heard this lady say it. I really wish I can say. I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not gonna say it. But I love her. I think it's like Ajana or something. Yeah. But I love her content. But she said, beyond what you believe, what do you know? Yeah. And what you know, like, like being able to speak what you know with conviction, it requires experience. And so when people hear you say like, yeah, you got to do these things, you got to do these things, they could very well believe it. But it's not until they actually submit or, submit themselves to the process that they can start to get the experience that on the other end of that experience, you can say, oh no, I know this to be true because I went through this process and like I know by experience. So a lot of us believe a lot of things, but you don't know what you know until you experience them. And that's why also you can't keep beating a dead horse with things. You just got to plant the seed.
You just got to plant the seed. You got to do it.
Wait for them to experience it and they'll get it.
And delay your gratification. Like, everything's not going to come to you right away. Like you spent the majority of your life doing the exact same thing. So your habits are cemented. So now you just need to reverse those habits by doing the exact opposite. Like literally when I turned my birthday this last year, I said I was going to do, for the next 365 days, I was going to do the exact opposite of what I always do. So if I always respond to something this way, I'm responding this way. I'm normally yelling and acting a fool. I'm going to be quiet and calm. If I'm afraid to do something, I'm just going to get up and just do it and just go at it. And when I tell you, man, specifically the last 3 months have been the most rewarding, profitable, foundation laying, like I'm going into a new era. I don't even want to say season. I'm going to a new era because seasons are 3 months. Eras are like 20, 30 years. Like what's about to pop off for me? Like, and I'm speaking it like, they say you should move in silence. Well, I always say,
listen, when you know what you know.
Listen, man, let me tell you something. One thing about this culture that I always, I can't stand is that, the people that misrepresent us, they're able to move out loud. Like they can be loud and just ridiculous all day long, but the people that are really trying to make an impact, we got to be in silence. Man, fuck all that. Like I'm gonna speak what I'm doing. I'm gonna show y'all what I'm doing. I'm gonna provide something for you all to be a part of. And that way, when we look back 20, 30 years from now, you'll be able to see that Tim was really that guy. He was really talking about it. Like, and people say it now, like, man, you've been talking about this shit for 10 years. I'm like, I told y'all. And I had to talk about it by myself. Hey, so that's what, wait. So y'all heard what she said. Y'all know me. Every time something big happened, I post Lil Boosie's daughter. Every time something happens where everybody is agreeing to, I always post that video. Y'all thought I was playing, but that is the most, those are the most profound words ever. Google Little Boosie's daughter, talking about Boosie coming home from jail. That is my favorite. I have that saved in my favorites on my phone.
You send that to me because I think
I got you, homie. I got you. When the Detroit Lions lost, I told y'all every year with the Cowboys losing playoffs. I told y'all. Like I post that thing at least 4 times a quarter.
I told y'all. But back to the kids. The SEL piece, and that's how I was able to get to the SEL piece with the kids because I had gone on my own journey. Right. So I'm like, no, we also have to cater to the students' minds. Like education should be holistic. It should be the mind, all the things.
You mean we should just cater to the test?
Listen, we should actually. But that's just me.
Hey, don't be having them people. So when I was a zoning commissioner, man, every time like a charter school application would come up, I would get all these public school people coming in, and they would try to come to my meetings and like just take over. I'm like, y'all, this is a matter of zoning. This is not a matter of education. Those people do not play about when you start talking about them tests. So y'all, we don't want no smoke, but y'all know
a lot of tests. But I'm like, we gotta, it's holistic. We gotta serve every part of this child. And so we started implementing peace circles.
Yeah, I was about to say, so what all do you guys do? Like, with us, we teach them entrepreneurship. We give them processes. We introduce them to people that's doing things. Our thing is we're teaching them to be entrepreneurs, leaders, and better citizens in their community, right? And so then we travel. Like we took a big trip before COVID. COVID just kind of hurt us a lot. So our goal is to take another trip soon, but like we get them out of their environment because many of the kids have never left their side of town.
For sure.
The only time a lot of kids leave is when they play sports or if they're going to court or prison. Think about that. Think about that. Like most kids do not go like.
I know adults who haven't left the hood.
Man, when I tell you,
been downtown and they live in Chicago.
Let me tell you my Chicago experience. So I realized how racist Chicago was when I was in grad school.
Very segregated.
Very segregated. So I'm a baseball fan. So my goal is to go to every baseball stadium ever, and that's here, Major League Baseball Stadium. And so we got to Chicago, and I was like, well, I'm either go to a Cubs game or a Sox game. The Sox were on the road, so I went to the Cubs game. So we had really good tickets because that's what I do.
Period.
Just to let people know. But we were like the only black people in the section, me and my son. And so I'm taking a picture with my son, and we're doing a video. Actually, somebody threw a peanut at us, and so I'm like,
did you catch it with the video?
Yeah,
Who did it?
Well, no, I just saw it fly by my head.
I would have turned around like,
I
saw that.
That's situational awareness. Because I'm the only black person. I got a 5-year-old kid with me. We out of
and
town.
you're not from the city.
I don't
okay,
have no attorneys in Chicago. If we were in
it's a
Dallas,
little
it would have been a
different.
totally different story.
That's what I said. It's a little different.
Yeah, I would have got banned from the stadium. But I had to realize in that moment, like, oh, situational awareness. Like, you know, I don't know anybody out here. And so we caught the train back. We stayed, don't ask me why, but we stayed, I don't say don't ask me why. We stayed in Chinatown. I didn't know anything about Chicago. And so she laughed. She's from Chicago. Y'all know, so she's laughing. So I guess don't ask me why it's fitting.
Chinatown is crazy.
It was interesting because everything.
I've never had anybody come to Chicago and decided to stay in Chinatown.
So my theory was
Chinatown,
theory was it was right in the middle of where we wanted to go.
Uh-huh.
But I got there and was like, why do we stay
This
here?
ain't
Like
it.
the hotel room was so small because everything's like China.
Yes.
So I'm 6'2", y'all. When I tell you them beds were so small, like that room, we walking around that room. Like my wife is a small lady, and she was like, "Damn, this is a small room, right?" But I'll never forget catching that train from Wrigley back to my hotel. We were the only black people on that train. Mm-hmm. The moment we got to the first stop before Chinatown, all the white people got off, and then nothing but I'm talking about. It became like radios, people trying to sell you socks and shit. Like it was a typical black experience. And my son at the time, we were living in the suburbs, so he was going to like a little suburb school. He was like I was the only black person. Boy, he was just in culture shock. Like, oh my God, Dad! It got real loud on the train, but I got
these black people.
And you know what I'm saying? And we got back to the room, and I was like, babe, I have never in my life seen such segregation like I saw in Chicago. Like it was for this to be a major city. It's the third largest city in the nation, and if you black, your ass is in that south or that west. And if you're not black, or if you're affluent, and you know, then you can go to the north. But that you're kind of
you have these pockets throughout Chinatown, Greek, like all these things.
And then like even the breakdown of the towns, Chinatown, Greektown, like. I ain't never seen no shit like that in my life.
You know it's wild.
But
we live
it's segregated here in Dallas. Like when I became a zoning commissioner, I realized that all black people live south of I-30.
But that was, you know, on purpose.
Well, yeah. Y'all have a long history of that.
That was by design.
Y'all wrote the book on Red Line.
You know, so there's that. So and that's the thing too. When we start to have those conversations, we have to understand like why things like that are, and you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we don't, because again, in history, who's teaching real history? Who's teaching redlining and all of those things?
So
we learn about being slave. Like the first thing we learn about ourselves in history is that we were inferior. You know what I mean? Slaves.
You know what? It's so funny you say that because I had to have a come to Jesus moment, if you will, myself. Like, because I found myself being really hard on my people. And as I start, most of you all are, I'm gonna say you all, probably not you anymore, but as most of us are, because we tend to feel like, well, if I did it and I'm from here, you could do it. And what's holding you? I was just having this conversation yesterday. I was so hard on my people, and then it wasn't until I sat down with my grandfather, because like I have this thing where I have a documentary, so I do this thing where I like to sit down with older people.
That's so I have a documentary.
Yeah. I did kind of
because everybody has a documentary. I have a documentary.
Tim Jackson Presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime right now. But no, I started documenting my grandfather. Like I did a whole like a little recording on him, and I talked about his life. He talked about moving from Louisiana at an early age and how it was segregation there, and how he was a shoe shine boy, and you know how like sometimes they would keep his money, and how he got out of the South, and like I had to understand like. Their difference of their idea of suffering and our idea of suffering was so totally like, our idea of suffering is 100% social. Well, I ain't gonna say 100%. I would say 75% social. There are some economic things that we go through, and there are within the system of white supremacy, which does exist. I will never deny that. That we do, but we have 1,000 times more access. Like my grandfather didn't have the internet. My mother didn't have the internet.
I was just having this conversation.
Right?
Yes, but it's the programming before you have the access again, right? Because
go out there and get you a good job.
And we talking about habits, right? So you got to think about the things that have been fed before you get the access.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? So it's, you have access, and it does seem like common sense, but it's not.
It's not. It's what we do with it, because most people don't even use that right.
But also, it's not even just that. It's the things that's important and valuable to me that you all have fed to me throughout the course of the years are just the things that are important and valuable. Most people like to be entertained, but look at the world that we live in. I mean, everywhere you look, they are trying to entertain you, to distract you, for sure. Not everybody can recognize that,
and
though.
Black people are typically the entertainment.
And we're the entertainment.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I said the culture, the foundation of our culture is get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, kill niggas. Like, we got to be entertained. Like, whenever I go talk at a school and I ask black boys what they want to be when they grow up, if it's at a black school, 99.999% will either tell me they want to play sports or rap or act, do something on TV.
Because that's what's been in their face.
And listen,
as
you know,
successful.
the truth of it is like, well, I knew I couldn't play sport. I was sorry. I was trash at basketball. I played baseball. I was really good at baseball.
Screaming.
I was trash.
So
at
your
basketball.
wife can bust you.
My wife can hoop. And, I hit a growth spurt my junior year in high school. I was always short. And then my junior year, I went from like 5'5" to like 5'11". And then my senior year, I went from 5'11" to 6'1". And now I'm 6'2". So I was like my friends, like, you a waste of height. You know what I'm saying? Like, I played basketball, but I couldn't hoop. You know the difference between those, right?
That's a big
I done
difference.
disappointed a lot of white people at white recreation centers. Like, I
they
walk
picked you
in,
first.
hey, we want what's your name? Dante? It's Tim. You know, they always give you, hey, bud. And then they pick me, and I'm just like, no, this ain't. I mean, I can get some rebounds, and I'm okay. Like, I can hold my own, but you got me for about 3 games.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, eventually, I'm gonna start jacking up some shots. I'm a better shot now, but back then,
You've evolved.
trash.
You've evolved.
I've evolved, but I'm saying that to say, like, our parents, they signed in, they bought into a system that was designed to fail them.
Yes.
And they taught us that
And they
system.
taught us that system.
You know, that whole work a job for 30, 40 years and get a gold watch and retire, that doesn't even exist anymore. Most companies eroded the pension plans, and now it's the 401k plan, and most of that doesn't work. I'm not going to talk about my mom's personal situation on camera, but I can talk to you about how her employer is doing everything they can to screw her
not
over.
give her-
It's
and
interesting.
that's so often. That happens. It's common.
Man, it's like it's so
very
often.
common.
And so, like, you know, I was listening to you talk earlier and about the evolution of like what it was you wanted to do and how you realized who you wanted to be through your experiences. And you said you played basketball. So I think this would be a great analogy. You know, if you look at the game of basketball, it's evolved so much over the years. If you go back and watch a game from the 50s and 60s, you hate it because you're a basketball purist.
Yeah, I hate it.
I don't hoop. I play
hate it today.
baseball, but I don't like to watch basketball now
Yeah, I
because
don't enjoy it the
it's
same.
not even the same game.
I don't enjoy it the
But
same.
the competition committee has gradually changed that game to the point to where we don't even recognize it anymore, right? So at what point in your life will you start to implement your own competition committee that's going to change who you are? Like, eventually we have to evolve. Eventually we got to do something different in our lives if we want to see something different. But many times we are stuck trying to play that same game.
But it takes
with new rules.
something radical too sometimes.
Why?
So for me, and I'm being transparent again, for me, I told you I was at this place where I knew I wanted to do something different, but I just would not do it. And it took for somebody to come in and piss me off for me to decide to jump. So that for me was radical. And so for some people, it really does take for something to happen to them. You know what I mean? So, for
I
them
get
to say,
it, man.
okay.
I get it. And let me tell you why it hurts me so bad. I've been doing this mentoring program for a decade now. We're going to officially hit 8 years as Real Youth Mentoring this year in August, and I was doing it under a different name before that. And I've been telling people to bring their kids to my mentoring. Like, bring your kids, bring your kids. We rent out a whole recreation center, this and that. And I can think of parents. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I told a parent to bring her son, oh, he got football, you know, because that was our biggest competition in Texas. Football is king here,
Screaming sports.
bro. And then 5-6 years later, can my son join your mentoring program? He's skipping school. He's smoking weed. He's doing this. I'm like, and I tell him straight up, ain't nothing I can do for him. Because if you know anything about the brain of a young man, most of the people who talk about I'm standing on business that's our age, they learn that shit in the 8th grade. They standing on business from the 8th grade. Like, think about it. Most guys, if you think about your own personal life, you learn how to be a hood dude. Or you learn how to fight and all that shit in middle school. So if your son is 17 years old, breaking in the car, smoking weed, and stealing shit, I can't help him.
Oh, I'm gonna disagree.
I'm
Can
gonna
I
tell you
push
why.
back?
Let me
Go
tell you
ahead,
why.
Go ahead.
Because when they bring them to me, and this is my personal experience, they don't want to hear that from me. There's nothing I can tell them in that moment. Like, hey, come, because we meet once a month or twice a week or twice a month. In between that time, mom's not reinforcing anything. He's not listening or reinforcing everything. And then what typically happens is that they go out there and have to bump their head, whether it's going to jail, whether it's going to prison, whether it's getting caught up in some type of system. And then I catch them back around in the 25 age range and, hey, man, you know, a 30 age range, you were right, man. Now I'm ready to change. Like, man, you had to go out there and get all those felonies and get all those issues to change. Like, at what point in the game do we start instilling these values in our children? young.
So let me push back.
Push back.
We do have mentoring programs though with middle schools for that reason. Initially I only started with high school, but then I'm like, oh, we got to get younger. We got to get them younger. Yeah. But I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna say, so when I was working at this teen outreach program in my early 20s, this is why I told you this laid the foundation for everything. I was one of the schools I was placed at was an all-girls school. It was an alternative school for young girls who were mothers or expecting mothers. Yeah. The range was from 6th grade to 12th grade. Yeah. That meant that 6th graders were coming in pregnant.
Yeah, I had a girl
in my
grade.
mind.
Yeah,
I'm
pregnant.
like, first of all, I don't even think another 6th grader got you pregnant. I'm thinking this is probably like an older person, whatever the case may be, whatever. But I had that feeling of, why are you placing me here? I don't have kids. There is nothing I can tell these kids. Like, I'm not relatable to them. And I'm talking about the whole first month I had a guard up and I could not connect because I wouldn't allow myself to, because I didn't think that I had anything valuable to give. I didn't think I could help them, right? Because you're already in this position. Right. So one day, I went to my supervisor and I was like, I just need to chop it up with you because this is mentally.
Did you actually say chop it up?
Yeah, this is me. This is how I talk. I need to chop it up with you, right? Because she was cool. Yeah. And she also was a therapist, so this worked out perfectly. So she had me come to her office and I explained to her the same thing I just said to you. Yeah. And she told me something that completely changed the way that I look at this work. And it's the reason why I can take a 17-year-old and still give everything that I have and be okay with if whether or not you gonna listen in the moment or not. She told me, she said, this work it's hard work, right? I'm like, right, I know. Telling me, yeah. She's like, your job is to plant seeds. That is your job. I was like, okay. She was like, but the thing that makes it hard is you got to be okay with the fact that you may never get to see them grow.
Oh man, no, don't do that to me, no.
So here's the thing, because that's rooted in ego. Because what did you say? I can't do anything for him because you want to know that you were a part of that change that you saw. That's
I also
ego.
said that they come back at 25 and 30, like you was right.
But the thing is, if you
what
catch
if they don't
them,
ever come back?
But if you catch them at 17, even though they still may bump their heads, how many more times may they say, oh no, you know what? From a seed that you planted, may they have not done that.
You know what I do now?
What's that?
I do exactly what that principal did for you. Like when they come to me and the mom is talking, I'll look them dead in their face and say, you ain't ready.
I don't.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you. But I'm dealing with boys though.
Boy, me too.
I'll look at them and I'll say, you ain't ready. I can tell you ain't ready because the way you standing, like you looking at me, you don't know me. I'm trying, listen, somebody gonna hear this. Like, because different men and women handle things different. Not saying, I'm not trying to separate like that, but I'm just telling you what I've had success at. It's just telling them they can't do it. Like you ain't ready. Like you value the streets more than you value your mom and your dad or whoever, and you just want to be a hood nigga, and that's cool. If that's what you want to do it, just do it. So when you go out there and when you end up in jail, when you end up in the situations, when you end up with a bunch of kids or whatever it is you got going on, and they be looking at me like, damn, nobody ain't never talked to me like this. Like, because what I used to do was like, hey kid, you know what? You can be great. And they be like, man, I don't want to hear that shit. And so now I tell them straight up like, hey, you on that bullshit and that's what you like. So when you get ready, holler at me. I've gotten a much better response rate from them kids. They don't want to prove me wrong. And then it's like, got you.
I'll say that I understand that method because I was raised with boys and that's what my father would do to me. What I know for a lot of my kids is you got to think about the messaging that they already receive every single day, that they're savages, that they are going to go to, they hear what you say to them all the time in music. It's the way people view them. That's why I got my Don't Sleep on Chicago kids, because the narrative that's been created already, they hear it every day. But to your other point, what you said, you can be great. And they're not really hearing that. I don't do that either. For me, when I'm working with kids, I never come from a place of, let me change your life. It gives, for me, it's, okay, what's good? Tell me what we got going on.
In their mind, ain't nothing wrong with me.
And that's cool too, because that's how it starts off. And the reason why they're doing that is because they don't trust me yet. They don't know me. Bingo. You got to think about how many times they've been lied to,
manipulated.
How many people cycle in and out there.
Especially with our boys. In our mentoring program, people always say, I want to come talk to your boys. Nope.
No, not
you got to come and volunteer for 6 months without saying a word like on a podium. You can intertwine with them, but you think you're going to get in front of them with a microphone, you might as well keep it moving, because they're used to men coming in and out of their life. They're used, and we have a policy in our mentoring program. You can't date none of the moms. If I find that, and people feel some kind of way about that, because how they can't find love? No.
Because you mixing.
Because you commingling.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
You don't shit where you eat.
No.
You just don't, man.
Yep.
And so a lot of guys, that's how I get rid of a lot of guys who don't have shit going for themselves. Yeah. Like the men, because they come in with, I want to use this as a platform to promote myself.
Not
and then
at
I'm trying to
all.
look at somebody. And I have, if I had $1 for every time a woman inboxed me was like, this ain't one of those programs where the guys be trying to holler at the moms. Like I had like $15 because when people see
$15 is crazy.
like literally, but it's $1. You know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of women don't feel comfortable taking their kids to certain places or like even to play sports because the coaches be on that bullshit. Like let's just call it what it is.
That's
like
true.
you ain't gotta fuck everybody.
That's a fact.
You don't have to try to fuck everybody,
Have some
fellas.
discipline.
Like, I have some discipline, man. Like, you know, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that you can't find love through a parent who your child, who their child is coming to you for work. But I'm saying, like, you don't have to fuck everybody. Like, damn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta have discipline.
You gotta have discipline. And so for me, like when I do my thing, a lot of times I'm the only person that talk to them like that. Like, man, I don't say that they ain't shit. I just say you're not ready. Like I can tell you're not ready because of the way like you got drug here today.
But ready for what?
Exactly. I let them define it.
That's tough. I mean, it's
a numbers game. You gotta remember I played baseball. You play basketball.
It's multiple ways.
You probably
to skin a
you can
cat.
shoot 50% from the field. That's a good day, right? You know, I
multiple
play
ways.
baseball. If you strike out, 7 out of 10 times, you winning. So I'm okay with striking out because what I realize is once I hit that home run and get on base, they'll never like. We're educators, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I love about being an educator is that you will always be loyal to whoever taught. Like the thought of whoever taught you something, you will never be able to associate that thought with that person. So if I teach you how to do something, every time you teach somebody, you'll be like, Tim taught me that. Even if you don't like me, you'll always have to honor the fact that I taught you that. And you'll never forget that. And when people ask, how'd you find out about that? It's through Tim. So my thing is, I like to pull them in, sprinkle a little game on them, and then hey, man, go on back out there and do your thing. Because if you're not ready, I'm not gonna chase you. What I tell you, for every step you take, I'll take it with you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do the work for you. I'll do the work with you. And it's
See, kids are different because
the cerebral cortex is not fully developed.
I think about it like this. So when we do PDs with educators.
What's a PD?
Professional development.
There you
they
go.
do.
Me and you, I know the acronym, but somebody
duh.
Googling PD. What is a
so when we
PD in
do
Chicago?
professional
Then they pull up something else.
developments, with the educators, we're teaching them how to build relationships.
This is so ironic. Me and my wife literally had a conversation this morning about PDs.
Yes.
Like
so that means
literally.
you need to go ahead, get to it. Is that what y'all was talking about? Y'all need to do it?
My wife, that's her thing.
Yes.
So she goes in and out of the school. Like we literally had this. She
Yes.
gonna watch this and she gonna be like, "Oh my god!"
I'm screaming. That's how she gonna sound.
She gonna say, "Oh my god!"
Hey sis, look, I love it. I feel
Everybody
like
love her.
connected.
People tolerate me. They love her.
I
She
feel
worked
like
in my business.
We got a lot in common already.
Man, my wife, she's shorter than you. She's like super small, but she thinks she can hoop. And y'all got a lot in common. Y'all have a lot in common.
like
She's
that.
such an amazing woman.
But when we do the PDs, oh my God, what was I saying?
When we go in and we do the professional development, we teach the teachers that.
But where do we start?
We were talking about how I be telling kids, hey man, you ain't ready.
To go.
And then they be like, yeah, I am. And then you said, no, because I do it like this. And then we do PD. She's typical cancer. Like,
Oh my God.
Straight forgot.
This is crazy. I
Hey,
think
man.
anything, when you get over 30, anything, it's a wrap.
I think you were. Let me see if I can help you.
I'm trying
Let me
to think.
see. When you do PDs, you teach the people. Was it how to deal with the kids?
But
and how
what
to approach
made
the
me
kids?
want to do that? Say
I
that.
don't know.
Where
What
was
you
I
talking?
going? What were we talking about before that?
We were talking about how my approach with the kids
Right,
is.
but you said you give them a little, you send them off.
You were talking about how when you was working in the place, that you had to have a talk with the lady, and she told you, hey,
I remember that part.
Okay.
I remember that part. Boom, boom, boom. So
play. I ain't got nothing for you.
I know you give them a little. We do the PDs. We're
Yeah.
talking about building relationships.
She gonna be driving back, and she gonna
And
be like,
it's
"Oh
gonna-
yeah."
it's gonna come back to me.
That's all good.
Okay, let's just.
Well, in the
pick up.
meantime, let's
Yeah.
do this right here
Yeah.
because I know, like I said, you're doing some dope stuff. I want to ask you a question I ask everyone that comes on my podcast.
For sure.
Okay? So, one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, the whole series, specifically part 2. You
Okay.
know, when they go to the future and then go back to the past. And so in that movie, on that series, Biff, he's the antagonizer. He gets into the DeLorean. He's in the future. He goes back to the 60s and finds himself. And he says, hey, dummy, here's a book. It's an almanac that has all the answers or all the scores to every sports game. I got really bad allergies, by the way. Let me put the camera on you, so I don't want you to think I got that shit.
I'm screaming.
Yeah. Anybody who watches this know I got bad allergies, so. You snorted. Don't even try to hide it. And I ain't editing to snort out. I got bad allergies, man. I have to get shots every week. That's how bad my allergies are.
That's crazy.
Me and my son. I encouraged him.
You didn't gave it to him.
So anyway, Biff goes back and gives himself a sports almanac, and he says, hey, I'm you from the future. Take this book, use it. It's going to change our life forever. Right. So he gets back into the DeLorean, and then he goes back to the future, and he's like a trillionaire. And he's evil, and they have to go back and reverse what he did. Now, let's say you.
Oh, I'm nervous. This feel like the hot seat.
You're getting the DeLorean. You go back to 18-year-old you. You're getting ready to, well, you probably graduated when you were 17, right? Let's say I graduated when I was 17. So you go back to 17-year-old you. You know, you just graduated. You have to go back to your school. You left something in your locker. You know, it's a long, dark hallway, and you know, you're getting ready to go out, and you see, you know, you see your old self, and your old self sees you, and they're like, man, she looks really familiar, and it's you. And you walk up to her and you say, hey, I'm you from the future. What's the one bit of advice you would give the you from the past? 18, 17-year-old
So interestingly, I do this often with myself.
Right.
I will write to my younger self, and I just did this in January. So because I had a conversation with neighbors that I had when I was growing up, and I just, from their perspective, I wanted them to, because I was trying to figure out like why, because the work is hard, and sometimes I feel like quitting. Sometimes I'll be like, all right, God, just let me feel comfortable with going back to work, and if you could just let me do that, we can be good. And I just knew I would never be happy or be comfortable, so I was trying to figure out like why can't I just quit, right? Like why? And so I was having this conversation, and not necessarily quitting now, but I've had those moments.
Right.
And so I was having a conversation with neighbors who I had when I was, I want to say 11, 12, 13, 14, between that age range. And she was telling me like her experience of like our circumstances from her perspective, because that was the question. I wanted to know how she saw me. And so when she, or like the circumstances that we were in, and when she explained it to me, I just got super emotional, because she was just like, I'm just so proud of y'all, like all of the things, that kind of thing. And that's what it did for me. Was if I go back in time now and I look at who I was at 18, at 17, 16, 14, and if I could say something to that person, it would literally be, you're going to make us so proud, like, because you're going to push through. Okay. Keep going. Don't quit. You know what I mean? Or if it's me talking to that person, like, you didn't quit, like you pushed through. You can, I told myself in my journal, I'm like, you can rest now. I got it from here. You get what I'm saying? Like, you made me proud.
That's a good one.
You've made me proud, because I think sometimes we go back and we only look at the things that we wish we can change. But if we changed it, then that means that something in the formula will it changes, which means that who I am today would be different. So I literally wrote to myself, you can rest now. I got it from here. You made me proud. I don't have a single thing I want to change.
It's dope.
I don't have a single thing.
Now that's funny you say that, because you know, man, that's dope. You know, one of the things that I had to come to the conclusion of within the last 6 months or so after my birthday was that, man, I've never allowed myself to like clap for myself.
You have to.
Like, I was at the I had my documentary release party on my birthday, and it was a big celebration, and like people were flying in from town. Like, people showed up and showed out for me. And I look back at those pictures and the photos of the event, and I was just like miserable. Like, I was depressed. I was overweight. You know, I just wasn't feeling like myself. I was a shell of myself. And I started to go back and to look at the old pictures of me from other events. And I was like, man, like, I have not been able to enjoy the fruits of my labor, because my approach to life has just been like fighting the whole time. Like, you know, I've always, you know, used like anger as a motivation. So I was always mad about something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always finding a way to like, you know, like, I ain't never ran from a conflict. Like, I actually created conflicts to, you know, create momentum, because I needed it. And not to say they didn't need to be created. Some of y'all on that bullshit.
You learn how to operate inside of that chaos.
I learned how to operate. Oh man, I need chaos. It's like everything's going well. It's like, let's shake this shit up a little bit, right?
Because it's like organized chaos for you.
It is. And so I told myself, like, you know, I was talking to my wife, and she was like, man, it bothers me that you're not able to celebrate yourself. Like, it bothers me that you feel the way you feel, because you've done some amazing things. And I had to like take a step back and just really look at my life like, man, I have done some pretty dope stuff. Like, it's okay to set a standard and set a bar, but you can't like strangle yourself to death because you didn't like it. For me, it was always, I can do better. I can do better. I can do better. I need to do more. Like, I would get something like dope, like that the average person would not accomplish. And then I'd be like, man, but it should have been over here. And I start catching myself doing it. Like, why am I doing that to myself? Like, I am literally holding myself hostage. You're
programmed to do it. So to that, I'll say two things. The first thing is, so I wrote an ebook as well. I did it a while ago, and it's
Have you published it?
It's super, and it's super, listen, and it's really just about personal. It's called Elevate Your Shit. So basically you're taking like the things that we typically would be ashamed of and all those things, and how do you use that to elevate your story, right? But one of the things, that I told people to do in this book, and I'm no guru. I'm not. I just tell people.
Nah, don't give a disclaimer. Hey, y'all, if y'all want to send a cease, no, I'm just kidding.
But listen, I just do what I just share what has worked for me. A lot of the times we can't see ourselves in these moments because we're in them. And so even when I went back and like I said, when I asked my neighbor about that time, sometimes it takes for you to ask somebody like, hey, how do you view me? Like, what do you see when you see it? And when people say all the same things, like, man, you're this, you're that, like you couldn't recognize it because you're always shooting for something else. But this is the energy, like this is what you're putting out. And sometimes you need to pursue those types of conversations because you need that for yourself, because you're not going to not going to slow yourself down. And so in the book, in that ebook, one of the activities, ask 10 people, and you can do it on social media in your story. Like, how do you, when you saw me do it in my story, I do it all the time. Like when you see my story,
I ain't met her yet, so I ain't gonna respond. But
so
I'll
what
respond
are your thoughts from my story? You know what I mean? I'm just curious to see. And when people start like, girl, you this, you that, you may, even if you don't believe it right away, eventually it will hit you. It'll fall in your spirit.
When I ask people, I'd be like, give it to me, baby. Tell me, I need it, man. Like
sometimes
right now.
you need it, but and then the other thing is you won't sit still long enough. So there's this thing, and then we're programmed to be chasing always, right? Because we're not really accomplishing if we're sitting still. So, and those things can't work. You know what I'm saying? Together, you have to sit still. Because we live in this culture of I'll be happy when, and I said this on my page, I'll be happy when, so I'll set a goal. Because I did the same thing when I was graduating from college. I sat in the middle of my college graduation and I was in another place already because, okay, this is done. Now what? To the point where it was so noticeable. One of my friends was like, are you even happy? And I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't there. I'll be happy when I'll set a goal, and when I accomplish that goal, I'll be happy when I get there. But the problem is with people like us is that by the time we get there, we already have another goal. Yeah. And so we never are happy because we're always going from goal to goal. And sometimes you really just got to sit down. What I told myself this year, maybe it's something you and your wife can start. This could be fun. Me and my cousin, what we do is we have like 4 goals for the month. And then we put them on a bottle of champagne. And so you can put it on a Post-it. And you don't touch it for the month. Then at the end of the month, so January is the first month we did it, we brought out those goals and we saw if we accomplished them or not. And for each goal that we accomplished, we popped the bottle and we celebrated. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's those things. You literally got to make yourself be present in your journey. You know what I mean? You got to make yourself be present. You got to sit down. You got to reflect. I know people tell y'all to journal and meditate, but you have to do those things because that's when you have the time to really sit back and be like, oh, wow, I really did do that. Yeah. Or when I'm having a conversation with my neighbors from back in the day, she brought up things that I didn't even remember. Like I didn't even think to be proud of myself because I didn't realize I'd overcome so much.
Now that's real. That's real because I was meeting with a friend yesterday. She wasn't in the military. She was there. She lived in Anchorage, Alaska. When I was there, we became really good friends. I became real good friends with her aunt. So they're in town for something else. And her aunt brought up something that I totally forgot about. She was like, man, I remember that time you helped me move. And so anyone who knows me, painting and moving, I despise. Like I don't care. Like I painted this room, and it was just for stress relief.
You did a good job.
Thank you. I did. See, I'm accepting. But like even my sister, like my family would tell you, if you need to move, I'd rather just give you money to hire someone. Like I don't even move my own shit. And so when she told me that, I was like, I don't even remember. I've completely blocked that out of my life. She was like, no, Tia was out of town and I didn't have anyone to help me. And you literally came over and helped me move. And I was like, I did? I was like, oh shit. But there was so many people who had stories like that I didn't even realize.
I was going to say, think about how many other things you don't remember. That's why you can't be proud.
Man, I'm something like the success plug over here, man. I be throwing y'all oops.
And you just keep going. You're not even allowing yourself to just be present in the moment. I always tell people, be where your feet are. And it's so important if you're an entrepreneur to practice being present and to practice being still because it's hard. And honestly, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur. It's just in life. It's hard. Life is like this, ebbs and flows, right? So I had a friend tell me, another therapist, listen, my friends are dope because they got me through, but she says your good days are for your bad days. But see, the thing is, you moving so fast, you can't differentiate. You don't know which day is good or bad.
That's a fact.
But so if you just allow yourself, you ever have some days where you just like, oh, I'm just happy. Like, and just lean into that. Like, just be happy that day because sure enough, there are going to be some bad days and you need to have the memories of these good ones to get you through.
I've had some good days.
And that's when the
words.
That's when the words come in. But you gotta be still. We move too fast. Because we're chasing.
So let's do this. We're gonna have to wrap it up because I gotta get to another event. I want to thank you so much for joining. Let us know where we can find you at. Plug whatever you got.
Yeah. So I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Elevate Greatness Chicago. That's the organization's page, or personally at Wanakee Marie, no underscores, no spaces, Wanakee, WANAKEE Marie. And yeah.
Don't ever trust nobody with a middle name Marie.
Screaming.
I love it. And anybody who in the, like, if they
that's
in the,
everybody mama,
in our
generation mama named them.
And a woman who ends
you should run a poll right now.
I'm gonna do it. A woman who ends conversations with bet. They can fight.
I say bet too. he being shady.
They can fight. Like you say something, they be like, yeah, bet. Okay, she's still off on you. No. Well, listen, man, I want to say I really, really appreciate you. Like, this was dope. Shout out to my man Byron Sellers, Sharnice Sellers, man.
Shout out to you, Byron. Shout out to Byron. He sits on our board. He is one of our founding board members. So shout out to him. Whenever it comes time to do work with kids, he is always one phone call away.
Byron is the man. Like, he's a very authentic, genuine guy. Like I said, my Chicago experience with people are there. Extra, super solid, or they ain't
not.
Shit.
I'm
like, it ain't no in
screaming.
between. And I've met, and it's like 50-50. Like, everybody I've met from Chicago, I've done business with people from Chicago. I've, intertwined with some people, and like, it's just like some people. Chicago's one of them weird places where like a lot of people just don't trust you because of the way the culture is there. So you got to open up to people, and it's like, well, damn, I mean, shit, it's been 2 or 3 years, man. What else I need to do to open up and show you? Like, you need to go to counseling, my guy. You know what I'm saying?
You need therapy,
you need to let that shit go. But listen, I
Heal.
want to thank you so much for joining. I'm going to say this on the record. We definitely need to connect with each other and do something from a standpoint of our organizations.
For sure.
Because we're doing some amazing things in Dallas, and we look to expand to 10 cities. And I definitely want to get to Chicago, but I don't believe in recreating the wheel. So if you're already doing something that is dope, then I would rather attach myself to what you're doing than to build something. I think within the Black community, like, people have come to my mentoring program like, yeah, man, can you help me start a mentoring program? Like, bro, why don't you just fuck with us? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're already doing this. Why would you go out and create an exact same thing?
Can I just say this? I'm so happy you brought this up because I think that's the problem. The problem is, I was just saying this, it's too many initiatives out here doing the same exact things. Why not work together? The work is so much, like, there's so much work that if we all just work together, it still wouldn't be enough in this lifetime.
It's the hood
you
church
get what I'm
theory.
saying?
The
like,
hood church
why?
theory. When you ride around the hood,
come on,
see
y'all.
100 churches, and there be like 10 members in every church, and they all got the same, like, just come together. The hood church theory.
Just come together. Come together.
But y'all, listen, this is your man, Tim Jackson. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the No More OGs podcast. Wanakee tore it up, man. I always bring people of value on here. Be sure to watch the documentary, Tim Jackson Presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime right now. Also, get the book, Tim Jackson, Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. As you know, I don't make any money off of that. 100% of the proceeds go to Real Youth Mentoring. So if you want to help us out, or if you want to support us, I'm trying to get out of the business saying help us out, support us, then we are there for you. Also, the book, Tim Jackson Presents 25 Easy Juices. You guys, your boy's down 50 pounds in 4 months, man. I'm living my best life. It's tone season. Y'all gonna get tired of me. I'm gonna be shirtless all summer long. I might even do a podcast with no shirt on. Because,
I'm screaming.
Hey, that's the point. That's the point. That's the point. I want people to scream, right? No, but all jokes aside, like, you guys, this is your era. This isn't your season. This is your era. So you got to start laying the foundation and stop being scary. Last thing, 100 ebooks in 100 days. I'm going to be publishing or assisting people with publishing 100 ebooks in the next 100 days. We already got the first 5 ready. I'll be dropping that really soon, so just pay attention. The first one actually comes out on Valentine's Day, so you're going to love it. See what I did there? But listen, stay tuned. Thank you so much. Thank you for visiting. This is the No More OGs podcast. We'll see you soon.